we now move to the next item on the agenda, which is the Woodland TPO, Kingsteignton E2/23/46, land at Rackerhays. So this provisional TPO was served on the 21st of August 2025, and as set out in the report, this order will expire on the 21st of February 26 unless it is confirmed by this committee today. The purpose of the TPO is not to prevent lawful mineral operations nor to override existing mineral permissions. Rather, it is to provide necessary control to prevent avoidable or premature woodland clearance, particularly for activities that fall outside the scope of those mineral permissions. The site has been identified as having high public amenity value, significant biodiversity, and a long-established woodland character. The evidence before us indicates the woodland was at credible risk of clearance and that other existing regulatory mechanisms would not have offered sufficient protection. I'll note that we have received a substantial number of public representations, 170 in support of confirming the order, highlighting the woodland's amenity, ecological value, and the community's reliance on the visual and environmental benefits it provides. We've received one formal objection from Sibelco relating primarily to interactions with mineral permissions and procedural considerations. One detailed comment from the Newton Abbot Fishing Association regarding operational and safety concerns, as well as Save Our Trees objection, which was quite comprehensive. These have been addressed within the officer report, including clarification of the regulatory framework, emergency works provisions, and the mechanism for managing routine tree maintenance under the TPO regime. I felt it worth explaining what we're actually looking at because it's very rare that we get a woodland TPO coming in, so I hope that gives some outline. So members are reminded that the decision today is to consider the confirmation of the order itself. It's not a determination on any future works to trees nor any future mineral applications. Should the TPO be confirmed, any subsequent proposal for works will be assessed at the appropriate time on their individual merits. The committee has three options: to confirm the TPO unmodified, or confirm it in a modified form, or not to confirm the order. I'll now invite the presenting officer, Edward Hornsby, to introduce the report, after which we will move to debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This is a long-established, naturally regenerated broadleaf woodland. I'll briefly cover the history, condition, landscape and ecological value of it. Prior to that, though, I'll run over the give you a summary of the report. There have now been 178 in support of the woodland. The woodland TPO, consistently citing wildlife value, visual amenity, well-being benefits, and the importance of protecting a long-established woodland. You will have seen representations raising concerns about flood risk and dust. While we acknowledge these concerns, and the trees do contribute positively to intercepting runoff and capturing airborne dust, they do not. These alone, though, would not warrant a TPO. Like the Chair said, there have been two objections, one from Sibelco, raising concerns about their existing mineral permissions. The TPO does not prevent lawful mineral extraction. And mineral permissions and tree protection operate under separate regimes. The regulations require mineral interests to be considered, but they do not override the duty to protect the amenity where justified. The TPO ensures that any tree removal is properly assessed and justified rather than allowing premature or unnecessary clearance. A further representation was received from the Newton Abbot Fishing Association regarding safety and maintenance. Again, the TPO does not prevent emergency or essential safety works, which are already exempt under the regulations. All representations have been fully considered. None outweigh the woodland's significant amenity, ecological, historic, or landscape value. The woodland itself is not recent or incidental. It is a self-seeded broadleaf woodland that has developed over a long period of time with very limited disturbance. This slide shows the site in its wider context. The woodland sits on the edge of Kingsteignton and in this position acts as a green buffer and provides ecological connectivity through an otherwise developed landscape. It makes a strong contribution to the landscape character, supports a high level of biodiversity and provides clear public amenity value. Here is a Google image aerial view. It shows the woodland as a coherent block of tree cover. It has dense canopy, good structural variation, and links into surrounding green corridors. It is the last substantial area of continuous woodland, and its scale and presence are clearly evident. Going back a bit, we have an aerial image from 1946, showing it is well established nearly 80 years ago. It predates most of the surrounding housing and infrastructure and demonstrates long continuity. That continuity is important and indicates stable soils, mature ecological processes, and long-term habitat value. Oh, sorry, going too far. Going back further, here is a map extract from 1886. It shows the woodland beginning at this time and shows that clay works have already been disused when the map was surveyed, meaning natural regeneration was already underway. This confirms the woodland is long established, likely dating back to the 19th century, potentially earlier. That level of continuity is rare in Britain, particularly on the urban fringe. Here we have a Google Street View from the southwest, looking out over the A380. The woodland is clearly visible as part of Kingsteignton and only contributes to the area. This visibility is an important factor when considering the public amenity value. Here we have a photo from High Week from the northeast. The same applies here. The woodland is consistent and a defining feature within the landscape. Its loss or fragmentation would be noticeable and a change of character to the area. Going further inside the woodland now, there are numerous naturally regenerated oak trees in good condition. Oaks are highly valuable ecologically, and their presence, form and density here are clear indicators of the woodland maturity. Importantly, oak is not the only component of this woodland. It supports a diverse mix of native broadleaf species, including, but not limited to, ash, beech, sycamore, birch, hazel, hawthorn, holly, creating a varied, structurally rich woodland rather than a single species plantation. These images clearly show the woodland structure. There is a development canopy, understory, shrub layer, ground flora, and ongoing regeneration. This level of structural biodiversity only develops where woodland has been present for a long time without intensive management. Further images show deadwood, varied age classes, a range of habitat features. Together these create a resilient and biodiverse woodland system that cannot be recreated in the short or medium term. These are final images of the woodland. Final images. show the woodland's quality and consistency across the site rather than just in isolated areas. It functions as a single coherent woodland unit, which is important to an important consideration for the woodland TPO designation. Moving on to the amenity values, I did make a typo on this, I apologise. It should have been 26 out of 33, not 20 on the report. The meanings when we come to judging the amenity of a site, I work from this spreadsheet. So the size is how big the tree or woodland is, so going into an individual tree all the way up to woodlands, so the height, the size, the spread of the canopy, etc. The life expectancy is purely how long is it going to stay alive and useful before it becomes dangerous. Its form, how good the tree looks structurally, its shape, its crown quality, etc. The visibility is how easy is it for the public to view the woodland, the trees, etc. When we go on to other trees within the area, it's whether the tree or woodland stands out as part of a group or fewer trees or woodlands around. More important. Sorry, that's I put this together late last night. The more woodland there is, the more trees there are, the less value there is. In this particular case, this is the only woodland of this size in the area. We've got Whiteway Wood, which is north of Kingsteignton, and Decoy, which is the next closest one. Suitability to the area, how well the tree or woodland fits into its location. In this case, it fits very well. The future amenity value is how much benefit the tree or woodland will give as it grows. The tree influence is how much the tree or woodlands affect its surroundings visually and environmentally, and/or environmentally. Added factors, there are many added factors that can be put in. In this case, it has got a relevant historical association and is considerably good for wildlife. I could have put veteran trees in there as well, because there are plenty of very old oaks. And the notes and total score are pretty much sum themselves up. Overall, taken together, this woodland clearly meets the criteria for a tree preservation order. It has a high public amenity value, high ecological value, a clear historic continuity with woodland present since at least the 1880s, ongoing vulnerability, a strong alignment with national and local planning policy on woodland protection. Moreover, from a personal point of view, from my life in the industry and growing up in a woodland myself, this is the best example of a naturally self-seeded woodland I've ever seen. The woodland was not planted or designed. It developed naturally following the abandonment of the clay works and has been left largely untouched for over a century. That long period of natural regeneration has created a woodland with characteristics that cannot simply be replaced through planting or landscaping. The woodlands of this type are increasingly rare, particularly in close urban areas. Confirming the TPO would protect an established and irreplaceable woodland resource shaped by time and natural process. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to mention, the ward members are Councillors Thorne and Rollison for this area, but I'd like to open it up to debate by the committee. Thank you. Going first to Councillor Palethorpe. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I would like to propose that we support the officer's recommendation. The reason being, I think we're extremely fortunate to have such a self-seeded one rather than landscaped. I think to see nature take its own course over a century is something that we should preserve. We do know that we've got a lot of housing coming along, but there are areas that we've got to protect, and I believe this is the way we should go about protecting it. I think the officer has mentioned, we've got woodlands elsewhere across the thing. Just outside our village, we've got Orley Common, which is self-seeding and just really well maintained by our rangers, as the one at Decoy Park. So I think it's important that we support this for the people of Kingsteignton, Newton Abbot and the wider district. So I would propose that we go along with the officer recommendation, Chair.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bradford, thank you. And next to speak, Councillor Bullivant, thank you.
Thank you. Clarification, if you can provide it, please. I understand national legislation for mineral rights cover this area, and the decision of whether it's a nationally important mineral rests with Devon County Council, who gave permission for this site to be reopened as the Rixon quarry. The legislation nationally, I believe, also states that the removal of surface features, trees, etc., is permitted subject to appropriate alternative areas being set up to replace anything that's taken away. If that is the case, I do support in the interim the application of a TPO to make sure such a change is coordinated and managed. I think it's important that residents recognise that national legislation means this will eventually go back to being a quarry. That consent has already been given by Devon. I think supporting this TPO should be done on the basis that we recognise what the national legislation is, and that what we are proposing here is appropriate steps to make sure that as much protection is provided as possible. But I am concerned that people will see our agreement to a TPO as being this is the first step in stopping a redevelopment of the Rixon quarry. And I don't believe we have it in our power to be able to do that. So whilst I support it, I think it needs to be made abundantly clear that national legislation, because of the nature of the clays, will rule eventually on the future of this site. So yes, I'm prepared to support the application as well.
Thank you. Can I ask the officer to come back on that, please?
The regulations with TPOs and ROMPs, they work side by side. The TPO is not there to prevent them from quarrying legally. It is to prevent the unnecessary loss of additional areas of the woodland. If the TPO lapses, there is nothing to say that they cannot, not necessarily the quarry, but future owners of the land cannot just come in and go, right, we want to build over this and we're going to flatten everything. So that's what the TPO is there for. It is not a preventative measure for quarrying, it is a preventative measure for woodland loss.
But, sorry, if I may clarify, the national legislation specifies what happens in the event that woodland is lost, and that is that it's required for the quarrier to replace that woodland somewhere else. And I say that's the reason I'm making people aware, or trying to make people aware, that because the national importance of this mineral has been recognised by Devon, our ability to stop it is zero.
Can I invite the officer, Tom Jones, the area team manager, to comment, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's a very important point, Councillor Bullivant, and the members of the public I've spoken to have emphasised that point, that I think what you're referring to is Devon County Council in 1999 confirmed the through a review of old minerals permissions, confirmed that in principle clay extraction could happen. There is a condition on that requires that if an application came in for clay extraction, they would have to consider the impact on the trees, and as you say, appropriate avoidance mitigation would have to be taken into account. I understand that Sibelco have also submitted what's called a scoping opinion for an environmental impact assessment to the county, and in that it's very clear that again, they have to survey the trees and consider what the appropriate action is. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but if an application came forward, there will be a lot of things to think about, but one of them would be that balance of how important is the mineral reserve, how important is it preserving the trees. We could debate that for a long, long time, but you're right, that's what it will get to if that's how it pans out. But just finally on that, as Ed's pointed out, this isn't just about that, it's about other things that could happen on the site, or someone just deciding to fell it outside that formal legislative process. Thank you.
Thank you. I think just linking to that, page 25, it says that in the absence of a tree preservation order, there would be no effective control to prevent the clearance of the woodland for the purposes outside the scope of the ROMP. So I think wholesale removal of trees within the designated country park area could have proceeded lawfully without arboricultural oversight or public consideration. So I think realistically this is the maximum that we would be able to recommend that we do. And then it is down to the officers to manage that relationship. I'll go now to Councillor Bradford.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's vital that we confirm this TPO without any modifications. We really must protect it for the community. That's all.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to debate? Then it has already been proposed by Councillor Pelthorpe and seconded by Councillor Bradford, and I'm assuming that is to confirm the TPO with no modifications. So may I have a show of hands, please, in support? Thank you, that's unanimous. So the TPO on E2/23/46 is confirmed. Thank you.